Hey guys, welcome to another episode of our student athlete live interview series. Today we have Neal coming on. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join me today.
No problem.
All right, so just to start things off, I'm just gonna ask you to talk about your backgrounds, where you're from, how you got into the sport that you play, things like that.
All right. So I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, but I go to a boarding school in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I go to Macaulay. So I've been here since sophomore year. How I got into soccer, I mean, I've just always kind of loved it. I was born in San Francisco, and there's videos of me playing in our little apartment when I was 1 and 8 months old, or however much, with a little inflatable goal, just walking up and down, kicking the ball. So I guess I just always really loved it, and then just kept playing ever since.
What grade are you again? Are you junior,
Uh,
senior?
this year.
Senior? Oh, that's pretty cool. So college is coming right up for you.
Yeah, I'm committed to SMU a couple of months ago.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So going into that recruitment process a little bit. So how did you know that you wanted to continue playing in college?
So I am very competitive, and I just love soccer a lot. So I knew that to have fun in college, I would have to play a sport and keep that fire in me because soccer is such a big part of who I am. Uh, but yeah, so the recruiting process was pretty weird for me, especially this year,
Yeah, with the pandemic.
COVID and everything. So I feel like I had done a good job, reaching out to schools, doing everything that our coaches had told me to do. But then SMU kind of came in pretty late. They were scouting one of the other players on our team. I'm lucky to play with a bunch of really, really talented players around here. So they're scouting someone else, and they saw me and reached out to my coach. So it wasn't like a normal process, but
Yeah.
I feel like I've gotten to the right place.
Yeah. What were some of the other schools that you were talking to?
Yeah, so I got pretty deep into it with Ohio State and UNC Wilmington, but SMU, big time program, great coaching staff. I just couldn't turn it down.
Yeah. What made you choose SMU over Ohio State?
SMU is like a top 10, top 5 program in the country, and that's just hard to say no to, especially as a competitive person. So being able to shoot for a national championship instead of a conference championship, it's just like a little bit different to me, and that's a tough type of stuff that I was looking for.
Yeah. So other than the program that they have there for collegiate soccer, what were some other things that you were looking for in a college, either as an athlete or even as a student academically?
Yeah, so I thought a lot about location, so I didn't want to go too far away from home. Being from Birmingham and having ties in Chattanooga and stuff, and Dallas isn't it's not too far, and also it's really close to downtown Dallas. And I kind of wanted a little bit more of an urban environment. Didn't really want
Yeah.
to go out in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, being in downtown Dallas it's really cool. It's super close. The campus is fantastic. So it is close to downtown Dallas, but it's definitely its own thing as well. Like you can tell you're on a college campus. You're not in the middle of the, but it's so close that it was just a perfect fit.
Yeah, I really enjoy being in an urban campus. There's so many things to do, and there's so many opportunities that you have in a city that you're not going to find in the middle of nowhere. So it definitely works for some people more than others, but I definitely think going to school in an urban environment is really cool. I go to school right in the middle of Boston, so it's a really great opportunity to get involved and be in the city and all that. Um, so other than what other than some of the things that you talked about, what had the biggest influence on your decision other than the program and all that?
Um, they've produced a really high number of players that have gone into the next level to play. So the list is like 70 something players that
Oh
they've
wow.
something like that, either the USL, MLS, or out in Europe. So obviously, I have ambitions to play at the next level. I feel like
Yeah.
that's to kind of to
Yeah, that's a great success rate. I'm sure that was really important and one of the things that brought you in.
yeah.
So moving away from your recruitment and just what your life is like as a student athlete, what's your favorite thing about being a student athlete?
I like how you can have your school friends, but then you also have like an immediate friend group with the soccer team. So whether that's going to be when I'm in college, where I'm here, and then with my club team as well, like you have a bunch of different kind of circles that you have just a lot of friends and a lot of people you get to know, build your network.
Yeah, it's really nice, like how you have kind of a built-in support group.
Yeah.
And you have those friendships, relationships that are going to last for a long time. And moving to the opposite end of that, like what's the most challenging part of being a student athlete, and how do you overcome those challenges?
Yes, the most challenging thing is definitely balancing your time. So, for example, like for club this year, the place we practice at is like 40 minutes away from where I go to school. So after school, we would go work out, do whatever, and then get a little bit of homework done. But then 7 o'clock came around, and we had to go to practice. So we would drive 30, 40 minutes out there, practice for an hour and a half, come back, and sometimes it's around 11 o'clock, and you have to shower and you have to get special treatment for like checking in and stuff. So I live in a dorm, so you have to like check in. The teachers have to stay late. It's just a bunch of different sacrifices you have to make. And you're usually starting your homework around 11:30, and having to balance that, stay with some good sleep, and yeah, it's tough, but it's
Yeah.
possible.
A huge time commitment, especially with the commute to like practice fields and stuff. Like the student athletes at my school, since we live in the middle of Boston, like it's kind of hard to come by like practice facilities that are easily accessible. So yeah, the commute can play a big role in like making sure that you stay organized, and like especially with timing and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. So walk me through like a day in the life of like what it's like being a student athlete for you. Like what do your days normally look like?
Yeah, so right now we just started our high school season. So we wake up around 8:20, 8:30, go to class by 8:50. We're in class till 3:20, and then we get out and we have training at 4 at a off-campus location just in Chattanooga from 4 to 6. I usually stick around for about 30 minutes, do some extra fitness and some running. Get back to campus at like 6:40 or something like that. Go get some dinner, shower, get cleaned up, get ready for. We have study hall from 7:30 to 9:30, so that's where we get all our homework done. And then from 9:30 to 10:30, some free time. So either go watch something on Netflix, go lift, do whatever you want in that hour. Come back, check in at 10:30, go to sleep around 11:30.
Yeah, that sounds like that's a very packed day. Sounds
Very.
like it'd be pretty exhausting, especially like in season. I'm sure like it gets even more stressful, busy, all of that, keeping up with everything, like mentally, always like with like that overwhelming the schedule.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you just started your high school season. So was your season postponed? Like what happened like season wise with?
So in Tennessee, we just start a little bit later than other places. So like my teammates in Georgia, my friends back in Alabama, like they've been playing for a couple of weeks, but our season just hasn't started yet. Like our first game is March 16th against Westminster out of Atlanta, and they'll be like 10 games into their season, and it'll be our first one. So it's just kind of weird how the scheduling.
Yeah. So you guys didn't play it all in the fall?
No, so we play club in the fall and high school in the south.
Yeah. So how did your club season go?
It went well. So the standings don't give an accurate representation of how we played. So we finished sixth in ECNL, but I feel like we were one of the top 3 teams in our league, but we just didn't quite get the results every once in a while. But the showcases, we did well. Obviously, I committed to SMU. We had my roommate here is a Brazilian guy named Guy. He committed to UNC. We had 2 other guys commit to NC State, and a junior who also goes to school here in Chattanooga also commit to UNC. So it was good for all the boys. Got to where we needed to go. Some of the other guys still figuring it out, but I feel like it was a successful season overall.
And how did COVID impact like either of your season, like your season that you're about to start, or like the season that you had in the fall? How did COVID impact any of those?
Yeah, so for the fall, I think the first team, so the pro team in Chattanooga, was looking to bring some of us in to just like train with the first team and whatnot, but they weren't allowed to do that with COVID, and they were just trying to stay a little extra safe. So that was kind of a downside. But for the most part, everything seemed pretty normal. I mean, we had a couple games get canceled or postponed because of COVID. Like one guy on the other team had a case, but I don't remember any of our guys ever having a case of it. So it seemed fairly normal. I mean, The hardest part was having to deal with the school here. So like we would go to a showcase in Florida or something, and then I would come back, and instead of being allowed back on campus, they would say I have to quarantine for 2 weeks in Birmingham. It's just weird. So I had to do a lot of virtual school
Yeah.
soccer, but it's not too bad. You just get used to it a little bit.
Yeah. And what's a goal that you have for yourself, like with this upcoming season, like before you move off to college, like either as an athlete or as a student?
Yeah, so I have a goal of being an All-American. There's a couple of different like sites that make All-American, but I'd like to make it in all those, and also an academic All-American. So I need to keep like a 3.75 or something GPA, and probably be an academic All-American as well. I think that'd be really nice.
Yeah, those are both really great goals to have, and like really keep yourself accountable, and like both being a student and being an athlete. Um, and then like my final question for you is, like, you've been through this whole recruiting process through the pandemic, and I'm sure people are still like going through that process of like committing to schools, like communicating with coaches, like trying to get their film figured out. Some schools aren't even having seasons because of the pandemic. um, what's your advice for students that are going through this process right now, or are close to finishing it, or even just getting started with the recruiting process?
Yeah, so I have two main tips. The first one is just stay active. Just send those emails out, get your name out there. Coaches know other coaches, so maybe one team has their team filled up, but their buddy, who's an assistant coach at another team, is still looking for a player in your position, and they can tell you about it. So just keep reaching out, be active. Once you get into contact with the coach, just keep in contact. Make sure you're talking to them quite a bit. Like towards the end with SMU, I was talking to Coach Ben and Coach Hudson once a week, once every 2 weeks, just kind of keeping in touch, making everything go smoothly. And then the second one is just be realistic. Like I know one of my buddies back home is committed to UVA, and they finished their class in like November. So if someone sends them an email right now, if they don't hear back, they might feel down about it. But it's just they're done with their stuff. So you have to be realistic, know what your level is. Obviously, shoot for a high level, as high as you can play, but just be realistic and go to the best place for you, not just the best soccer program. Go somewhere where you would be happy for 4 years as a student if you never touched a soccer ball. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
those are all great pieces of advice. Like, I know networking right now, especially, like, you can't really do visits, and a lot of things aren't happening right now because of the pandemic. Networking is incredibly important.
yeah,
And yeah, like, obviously shooting for your goals is super important, but you also have to keep in mind, so, like, that, again, like, being realistic and finding a place that's going to help you become the best either student or athlete that you can become. But yeah, those are both great pieces of advice. Um, did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
Thanks for having me on. I feel like this is good. Just kind of get to know other student athletes around.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see if anybody had any questions. Um, no, nobody had any questions, but thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciated you taking your time out of the day.
No problem.
Yeah, good luck with your season this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right. See ya.
Bye.